All right, so the French Fiasco is out. Hallelujah. I'm just gonna say because I can already tell because I didn't really test out my voice. I'm having problems speaking. I'm recovering from the treatment for tongue cancer, and I can feel a big lump in my throat, and I think that's part of the dead flesh that from the radiation treatment is breaking off and stuck in my throat. So that's why I know it sounds terrible. I hope you weren't eating lunch when you heard that. Uh, but anyway, the French Fiasco's out. It's been out for 2 days, and I would have done this stream beforehand, but I had a 3 day gig at Master Station. So my partner and I, by partner I mean my banjo player, he and I were playing from 9 to 1 o'clock every day, Wednesday, no, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's 4 hours of play. Now, I usually play for like 50 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and then come back for another 50 minutes. And, playing old timey music is different from like any of the other kinds of music because, first of all, the violin is a very physical instrument. It's almost kind of unnatural the way you have to hold it. You have to keep your elbow tucked in, and you're bowing. And when you play old timey, when you're playing in the orchestra or even in a band, they're even within a tune or a movement from a classical piece, there's rest time. But when you're playing old timey fiddle, you are the melody, and so, and especially when it's just you and a banjo player, so there's no rest. You're constantly scrubbing away, and your pec muscles get sore. The muscles on the back of your neck get sore. In fact, I was working. I know I'm supposed to be talking about the book. I'm talking about fiddle playing. Anyway, long story short, I was exhausted every single day after when I got back home. So I usually just took a nap and then got up and took care of everything else. So I'm a little late getting to this, but I'm kind of glad that I took my time because there's more to talk about. Well, first of all, let's go ahead and put this up. Here it is. This is my latest book right here. I'm very proud of it. It's been a little over a year in the making. Um, it has been, let's see, the Prussian Prince came out right around February 4th. I don't think I necessarily nailed it on the day of my birthday, but I tried to. And to make matters worse, our cat, Kiko, had a stroke, and we had an emergency that, like, right while I was in the midst of uploading everything and finalizing everything for the launch, we were spending hours in the lobby of several veterinarians, and unfortunately, she passed away. And then I started. That was February 4th of 2024. Well, when it was supposed to come out, it might have come out early because there was a mix-up, and I won't go into that. And my pattern is that I put out a new book, and then I give myself about a month to deal with like any marketing or any kind of problems with the launch before I commit myself to start the next project. Um, so I started writing the French Fiasco in March 4th, 2024. I think I finished the the manuscript in January, and then we have spent all this time since um, revising it, editing it, polishing up, getting it ready for release. And here is the result. All right, The French Fiasco, a Franco-Prussian War novel, Long Century, Book 6. But we're going to talk about that in a second. But here we go. A crisis of conscience puts an American stuck in the Prussian army on the run at the onset of the Franco-Prussian War. But as Karl flees the German onslaught into France, he finds himself running deeper into the mysteries of his past. Will he learn the truth before he faces the firing squad? The French Fiasco is an action-packed swashbuckling romantic adventure with historically accurate depictions of the Battle of Saarbrücken, Spicheren, Sedan, and many more, with historical characters like with I'm sorry, real historical characters like Otto von Bismarck and Napoleon III. The French Fiasco is book six of the long century series, but you do not have to read the previous novels to understand and enjoy this one. Everything you need to know is contained in this book. So this is one of the double edged swords of writing a series is that the one thing good about writing a series. Oh, hang on, I'm gonna stop. I got Lloyd here, and Lloyd says, I have the ebook and I have the paper book. I'll have the paper book in my hand Sunday. Wow, that's soon. I ordered a box of 20. I think I have to wait till the end of the month, but I think individual ones go out earlier than the bulk ones that I get. Well, thank you, Lloyd, so much. I hope you get a chance to read it soon, and I hope you enjoy it. So when you write a series, and I'll say the good outweigh the the pros outweigh the cons here, but the pros are that if you get people interested in book one and you hold that interest through the books, then you have a built-in audience. So you're not starting from scratch with every single book. You have people waiting for that book for the next book to come out. I think it's very easy for people who write series to jump the shark. I don't believe I have, because I think it's because I have envisioned an overall story from the beginning. So I'm not just coming up with a brand new story every single time. It's something that's kind of planned out all the way to book. It's going to be either book 11 or book 10. It depends on the next book I write, and we'll talk about that later. But it depends on if I decide the next book I write is part of the series or not. But that's a different story. So each installment is really a segment of the overall story. I mean, each book itself is its own story. It's got its own plot and resolution and all that. But so writing a series, if you write it well and you keep putting into books in it, you're going to get people who all along are gonna jump in for the next one. But some of the problems are if you don't capture people's attention with the first book, then they're not going to get to book six. The other thing is that as you get deeper into it and you put more books behind you, people are less and less inclined to get started because they're like, oh, the French Fiasco, the Franco-Prussian War, this looks really good. Oh, it's book 6 of the series. Well, I don't want to have to read 5 books just to enjoy this one. And I understand that. And there are several books within the series that are very popular that people don't necessarily want to read all of them. I think my most popular book is probably Blood for Blood at Nashville. And that is kind of the finale of the first 3 books because the first 3 books are Civil War. And so I've seen a lot of people just buy that book because they're interested in that. And so the key is, and this is a really fine line, and there is no real absolute answers. There's just shades of what to do and what not to do, right? And compromises. So I believe that the key is that if you're writing a series and your series is an overall story of interconnected books, and that's another thing too, and not to get off too far, but some people write more episodic, like Bernard Cornwell, for example, writes Richard Sharp books, and he writes them out of order. He wrote the original ones in order, but then he went back and wrote ones beforehand. He's inserted books in between, but his books are all it's like an episode of Happy Days or whatever. You don't have to watch all that Happy Days episodes in order to understand what's going on. You know the basic premise. There's there's Richie Cunningham and his friends, and they get their friend Fonzie upstairs, and every week a new adventure starts, right? That's how a lot of people write series. I write more of a serialized series in that my books are are in sequential order, and it's a continuation of a story, but each one is its own confined story in of itself. But the danger is that people want to read a book like someone want to read this right now. So the key to this, after all that mumbo jumbo I just said, is that you write each. Imagine you always when you're creating, and particularly when you're writing novels, you have to think. You have to keep your reader in mind all the time. That's your reader is number one, and I always say write to your reader, right? So think about who your reader is and how they're perceiving the story. That's why, like a lot of new writers like to be very overly clever because they think that makes them good writers. It doesn't. It just loses and bores your reader to death. Make your writing very clear to them. And part of being clear is having everything they need contained in your book. So, for example, yes, the French Fiasco uh, has references to things that have happened in the series. Uh, mostly what happened in the Mexico, My Love, which is the prequel. There's a lot of things and characters from Mexico, My Love that reappear in this book. But this may be the first book someone's ever read, right? I mean, two things: either someone's looking at this on Amazon and they're like, I don't want to read 5 books just to read this one, or they borrow it from a friend or they see it at a coffee shop and it looks good. So what you have to do is just make sure that everything they need to know is contained within each book. And so even though this book, The French Fiasco, has references to what happened in Mexico, My Love, I make sure that those references are very clear within The French Fiasco. Even if I have to briefly have the characters talk about or find some way to kind of recap just the important things that happen so you understand the motivations of them going forward. And I think there's a fine line because you don't want to bore the people who already read that. And you also don't want to make it like an info dump. You just want to weave it into the story so that they understand certain things. You understand that, for example, Claudette is a widow. She lost her husband in the Mexican War, and Carl has grown up without a father. Um, there's some references to what happened with Klaus in the previous novel when he was a little boy during the riots of 1848 in Berlin, and so some of that kind of comes around too. So to finish that off and not to overstate it, make sure that it's okay to write in a series and have a serialized series, but make sure that each book is understandable if it's the first book that's read by anybody along the way. Let's see how it's doing, by the way. Uh I was doing pretty well in the ranking. Um Under 100,000 and rankings everything. So when you're ranked, I mean, we're talking overall ranking, we're talking about cookbooks, uh, nonfiction books, the Bible. How are you doing with all books sold on Amazon? And I don't see where the ranking is. Oh, there it is. Okay, now we're up to 200,000. So we haven't sold a few. It's very fast. I was down like in the teens, and now it's jumped back up. But ranked 482 in historical European fiction, 1,000 in military history fiction, and 1459. Yeah, that's to be expected. So, I will say that I've had one of the best launches ever. No, I've had the best launch ever. If I don't sell another book, my Amazon sales have been the best on the first day for all 6 books. The best on first week for all 6 books, the best for the first month for all 6 books, and the best for the first 5 months. So already on first day one, I have I've had the best first 5 months of any of my books, and part of that is the pre-orders. And I started pre-orders with my third book, Blood for Blood at Nashville, and I think I only went 1 or 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. And Dave Chisholm, who's someone you should listen to, warns not to do pre-orders unless you're famous or you have a loyal following or you have an excellent marketing plan. And I joked that, well, I have a little bit of all three. I'll go ahead and since you're watching and it's deep enough into this that only those who are really dedicated followers will know this, because I don't like to reveal numbers, actual numbers for people. But I'll tell you the truth. I did about 2 weeks worth of pre-orders for Blood, and I got two pre-orders. And what is pre-order? It means you're clicking on to buy the book. You don't spend the money till the book comes out, but basically when you pre-order something, it means that when the book comes out, your account is charged, and they send you. It's only for the Kindle. It's not for the paperbacks. So I only got two, and I think I have 2 weeks. The next pre-order was for Mexico, My Love. And I think that one I extended to 30 days. And I'm very careful about this because I want to make sure that I'm going to make the deadline. So I don't do pre-orders. When I first, like when I did Blood for Blood, I made sure everything was ready to go. And just like 2 weeks, do some follow-up things and then set it out. I went to 30 days, and I think I did 30 days after Laura was done with her corrections, her editing corrections. And I did 30 days on that, and I got 12. So I went from 2 to 12, which is great. Then the Prussian Prince came out, or when the Prussian Prince was ready to come out. And once again, we did 30 days, and I think I may have in the last few days, because usually what I do is I offer the pre-order and remember, pre-order is just Kindle. So I ran pre-orders for 99 cents with the message that it's 99 cents if you pre-order it, but it'll be $4.99 when it comes out. So that one, I ran some Facebook ads in the last week, I think. And that one I got 43 pre-orders, which is and the one thing about pre-orders is once you put your book out on pre-order, now you're in the ranking system. And so if you set your book out, this is why David Chisholm says not to do it, because if you put your book on pre-order and nobody pre-orders it, your book starts dropping in the ranking until it gets into the millions, right? And now it's in obscurity, and the algorithm isn't going to show it to anybody because it's so buried in the rankings that the Amazon algorithm doesn't think it's even worth it, right? So you want to make sure that you are getting pre-orders. And so you have to do, I usually start Amazon ads right away because those are relatively cheap. And I also start talking about it on my social media platforms. So I put the Prussian Prince out on pre-order once again, 30 days. And that one got 43. But an interesting thing happened with that one is that, so I have Amazon followers. So these are people who on Amazon, they can click on any author if you want to follow an author, living or dead, by the way. So I follow Alexander Dumas, even though I get no notifications because he's been dead for over 100 years. So living or dead, well, any author. if you, well, let's just say the living. If you follow like my friend Lloyd Elmore Jr., I follow him. And all it is like when you're on Amazon and it says you can follow the author, click it. When he's got a new book out or he's got a pre-order, I get an email saying so, and I do. I get him every time he puts out a book, and I usually send it to him to let him know, like, hey, I got Amazon just sent out this email about your new book. So when I did that with the Prussian Prince, I got no email. No email went out as far as I know, and as far as all the people that tell me, no email went out for the pre-order, and no email went out for the new release. So I was when no email went out for the pre-order, I started reading through through the community stuff, behind the scenes for the author central pages about how that is decided. And I found out, and I don't know if this was something new or not, but your book has to be out on pre-order for at least 60 days for them to send an email. And which is funny because the email I have found when I got emails about pre-orders from other people, that email came out a week before the book was released. So, and I found that on several times. So there is a pattern there. So I decided, well, I am going to overcorrect here. So they say 60 days. I'm gonna pre-order for 90 days, and that meant that some of the steps of editing and preparing the book would not be done. The book itself was done, but there was still some editing. I think I waited through my first initial read through, because that's where I do most of the heavy lifting as far as editing and moving things around, rewriting things, and adding things and things like that. So I waited till I got that stage done, and then I put a 90-day. So that put us all on the clock, me and my editing crew, which is my mom and my girlfriend. But also with the Prussian Prince, not only did I get an email out for my pre-order, but I didn't get one put out for the release. And I couldn't figure out why. And the only thing I can think of is that that one is more focused on the Prussians. And so the cover has some Prussian military iconography from 1866. This is iconography that goes all the way back to the Napoleonic Wars, like the Iron Cross, the Prussian eagle that is older than that. The guys on the cover, there are guys with spiked helmets, and I don't think Human Eyes did this, but I think the AI algorithms at Amazon deemed this as Nazi, or I'm probably not supposed to say that word, bad guys from World War II iconography, and so they suppressed it. So no emails went out for the pre-order, whether I got it in enough time for the pre-order or not, and the release. So the French Fiasco, there's parts where you're with the Prussians and there's parts where you're with the French, but the cover is mostly the French, and so there isn't any of that iconography on there. And I don't know if that was the difference, but I'm just assuming as an educated guess from the things that I know that it probably is. By the way, if you hear banging, that's my washer machine. The basket's off kilter, and it still works, but it's like someone's downstairs banging a bass drum. It's rather noisy, but I'm still getting clean clothes out of it, so that's the way it goes. So anyway, the happy ending to that story is that about a week before the French Fiasco came out, Laura sent me a forward the email from Amazon saying, "Hey, an author you follow, Cody Ciandol, has a new book on pre-order." So that went out. I have at that time, I had 188 um, followers on Amazon, my Amazon page. So I'm hoping that all 188 followers, I didn't because I follow myself, but I wonder if Amazon knows that so it doesn't bother sending me the email. I don't know if that's the case or not, but um, that's what we'll go with. Someone else told me that they got an email too, that I had a book on pre-order. And then on the day of the launch, I was kind of in the bottom of my manic depressive cycle. I was feeling really down in the gutter, and I spoke to Laura on the phone as I was driving out to my gig, and later that day, she sent me or told me that she got an email saying that Amazon put out the new release email, and so that kind of lighten my mood and then at the gig I met Craig Duncan, who was a hero of mine. I learned how to play the fiddle following Craig Duncan's book on fiddle playing, and he came out to the gig and talked with us, and we played. He played my fiddle. I played a few tunes for him. I was really scared because at first I said, "Hey, you want to play one?" He goes, "No, I want to hear you play one." Oh my God, really? And I played in front of him, and I did fine, and so that lightened my mood. And then we had all these kids come, and uh, we had like dozens of kids clapping and stomping and dancing while we played, and that always lightens me up. And the depression has nothing to do with anything. It's just a chemical thing. I don't make enough serotonin sometimes, and it might also be that when you work on something, we Lloyd can understand this. If you're still watching, Lloyd, when you write a book, it's an arduous process that takes months, if not up to a year or more. For me, about a year or more, and you spend your entire being uh, into this book and thinking about it and writing it and struggling with it and then going and talking about it to your poor loved one who has to listen to you go on about it, and you spend all this time editing it, and then it's out and you've done it, and then there's kind of like this emptiness that, like, well, what now? And also I think book launches are somewhat anticlimactic because it really takes time for the book to get out there. Now, what's nice is, well, I should get back to the pre-order story, is that all those pre-orders turn into sales the day it goes out. So immediately you have a ton of sales. So back to the numbers of the pre-orders. So I talked about this. So the first book that I did pre-orders, I only got 2. That was Blood for Blood. I did it again for Master My Love. I got 12. I did it again and even ran some ads in the last week for uh, the Prussian Prince. I got 43. And so for the 90-day pre-order for the French Fiasco, I immediately got 16. This is, and this is not paid advertising. It was months before because, like I said, the pre-order email goes out a week before it goes out. So my followers on Amazon didn't know about it. This is just from the people who are friends with me on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever. I put it out there. I spread it out in a few groups that allow me to to self promote, which you have to be very careful about that because a lot of groups don't appreciate that at all. So within the first maybe less than 16, I can't remember how much I got immediately, but there was just somewhere between 10 and 16, let's say, and that was in the initial pre-orders out, and I announced it organically on social media platforms, and then a few trickled in over the months in between, and I had arrived at 16. 2 weeks out before launch, I was at 16. And so at that point, I decided to spend some money. And I was also running ads on Amazon for it, just low cost ads that just kind of trickle. So I decided to build some ads on for Facebook and Instagram or Meta. And on the ad, it says only pre-order special 99 cents or 89 pence in the UK or the equivalent in your country. So that the 99 cents or the 99 pence promos are only in the US or the UK. But I was able to do it globally, like whatever 99 cents American converts to in your country. That's basically how much it was. In fact, one of my pre-orders was from the Netherlands, and the rest were all UK and the US. In fact, I think I got more in the UK than the US. But I started putting the ad out. I ran one ad, separate ads, one in the US with a $5 daily limit. And that ad said, pre-order 99 cents will be $4.99 when it comes out. In the UK, pre-order is 89 pence, will be 3.99 pounds. I don't know how they £3.99. I don't know how they say that in British English. And then I started and then the pre-order started rolling in, and we were watching it hour by hour, clicking on my behind the scenes. I can see how many pre-orders I got, to see if I got any more. I was getting maybe over 2 weeks. I started running the ad, and then I stopped it when I had a 99 cent or 99 pence. I did a week of 99 cents on the Prussian Prince for the first time ever. And so when I ran that ad in the US, I did not run the pre-order ads. And then I did a whole week of 99 pence in UK I can't do 89 cents on the promos, just so you know. That's why it's not 89 pence. But then I ran a week of 89 pence in the UK. And so I was running Facebook or Meta ads for those. And then once that was done, so that was 2 weeks of that, I went back to the last few days. I think I got up to 80, maybe 80, 81, 82, somewhere around in the low 80s of pre-orders by that time. Then in the last week, once I was done with the with those ads, I started running the pre-order ads again. Once I was done with the Prussian Prince ads, and we were watching it right up to like the night before the launch, and the final number was 96 pre-orders. So I went from 2 pre-orders for Blood for Blood, the 12 for Mess with My Love, the 43 for the Prussian Prince, or 96 for the French Fiasco. So 96 pre-orders is a number I have to beat when I put out Black James in about 2 years' time, or maybe even longer. And a lot of that comes from making it only 99 cents or the equivalent during the pre-order, and my philosophy behind that is, first of all, you want to make as much money as you can, but trying to make your money up, in the early stage, is really cutting the money that you're going to make in the long term. So the goal is to get as many new people into my universe, into reading my books. And so when it comes to, and I am charging more for my books. I mean, Rampage is the lowest I can sell it for, where I get all the benefits from KDP, and that's at $2.99. So that's $2.99. Perils is $2.99. But then everything after that is $3.99, and the latest book is $4.99. And but the 99 cent or equivalent pre-order special, or even the promos that I run every 3 months on the different books, yeah, I'm not making a lot of money off of that, but I'm getting new readers in. And a lot of people, um, they might jump in on that 99-cent pre-order, read book 6 and say, I really enjoyed this, and decide to go back and read the rest of the series at full price. So that's the idea. The idea is to build a readership, like Bernard Cornwell, who's like probably the top of the mountain when it comes to my particular genre. I'm a dedicated fan of his. I'm going to read everything he puts out. If he's got, there's several authors that if I don't read everything they put out, I'm certainly going to be interested and want to read most of it. So like Con Eagledon, and I'm behind quite a bit, but I'm going to read pretty much. I'm going to try to read everything he's got. Jeff Shera is another one. There are certain authors that just by their name alone makes me want to read their books. I can't think of. I know there's more. I still have to read a lot of Arturo Roberto Perez, which I think is one of the best writers living. He writes in Spanish, so I read the translations. But I only write like his historical stuff. I don't read his contemporary novels. But yeah, and I know there's other ones I just can't think of. But there's plenty of out there that I still enjoy their books, like Ben Kane's and so anyway, I had 92 pre-orders. So when I wake up on the next day when the book comes out, that's 92 sales right there. And actually, I woke up and there was 40 of them the day before, and that's because everybody on the eastern part of the world were getting their book. So it showed up to me on my previous day that 40 orders had gone out. That's the UK and the Netherlands, and then I had 50 on the western of the day of, and then that number started rising because not all 92 delivered right away. I think and then there were more purchases, and then the next day, because Amazon, when you order, like for example, a print book, the money doesn't. They don't pay you your royalty until they ship it, and so as I did get some more sales on the day of, I got the next day. I woke up and I had like 10 paperbacks went out. So there are people that bought the paperbacks right away, and those weren't pre-orders. You can't pre-order paperbacks. So those are people who day came out, logged into Amazon and bought a paperback, and so those all went out. I think the last time I checked, I was at 104, and so this is my best launch ever, and we'll see how it does. I mean, when I say best launch, I mean for that individual book. So I have sold more copies of the French Fiasco in the launch than I did in any of my other books. But my best launch as far as sustained and overall, meaning like selling all the books, has to be Mexico, My Love. And that one was crazy. That one, for months and months, it seemed like I was just, I mean, it wasn't, and in fact, it wasn't even Mexico, My Love that was making all the money. It was like people had finally discovered me and discovered all my other books. So all my books were selling like crazy during that time. So in a way, that one overall is kind of the best just because all the books really took off. We'll see how this one does, because usually the pattern I see is the month it comes out, there's kind of a ramp up before it comes out, and I don't know what causes that. It might be because I'm just doing more activity to bring attention to myself, but there's usually a ramping up in revenue before the book comes out, the month or two beforehand, and I start seeing my royalties rise, and then the book comes out, and then there's a spike, and the month it comes out. And of course, it came out the 16th, so it's the middle of April. And this has been my best month since um, probably when the Prussian Prince came out. There might have been some spikes along the way because there's spikes and valleys in your revenue as you go. What you look at is the spikes are great, but you look at what I think I heard Brian Cohen use this term, the floor, and that is what's the average of the low months, or where do the low months? When you look at your, this, what's the line of the low months, so that you can, there's a certain amount of money that becomes normal for you in a that is kind of your base level, like in the doldrums in the middle of the summer when it's been months since you've had a new book out, how much you're making on those months, is that's the floor, right? So there's kind of a floor and then spikes and valleys along the way. Well, so this April, it's still April. What is the date today? April 18th. Yeah, so we're still just past the midpoint of the month. We'll see. We'll see if, is it just going to be a spike because of all the pre-orders, or will that momentum continue and I'll have an even better May? We'll see. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do. I ran a 99-cent. By the way, the Perils of Perryville is 99 cents right now in the U.S. It'll be 99 pence in the U.K. I ran Facebook ads yesterday. It didn't do much to move the needle, so I cut it off. I kind of I run ads. The Facebook ads are expensive. If they don't immediately make money the first day, I cut them off because it'll eat up all my revenue. I will probably run an ad in the UK, which tends to do better. Monday when it's 90, when the Perils of Perryville is 99 pence in the UK, and sometimes, especially the Civil War books, running a special on one of them will get people to buy the whole series, or at least the trilogy, which is really interesting because the trilogy is just part of the series. But Amazon has identified the first three books as a thing of its own. So sometimes it just shows those three as a trilogy, even though they're part of a 6-book series. I may or may not run more Facebook ads on the French Fiasco book series. It depends on how things go. I'm still debating that. Otherwise, I'm just running the ads on the things that are on 99-cent or 99 pence specials, and I only run those ads for as long as the sales make the money back for the ad. If they don't, if the ads aren't earning their keep, then I cut them off, and I might do them again in 90 days when I redo the special. And once I finish with the Perils of Perryville specials, the Prussian Prince comes around again because it's every 90 days. So I'll be running some 99-cent, 99 pence specials on those to see if that might. And those haven't been around a lot. So sometimes running 99 cents on the early books, well, a lot of people have already read those or already seen them, and so you've gotten as much as you're going to get for now out of those. But the Prussian Prince is new for being on special, so we'll see how it goes. As for me, I don't have any. I think I do have a signing thing coming up. I got a text from Laura. Just see it real quick. Okay, she's not having a good day. I am going to be at the White House in museum. That may be way out. Let me just see. I'm looking at my calendar here. I have a lot of fiddle gigs. First weekend in May, I'm going to be at the Head Farm. I'll put that out on my social media. It's a um, farm to dinner or farm to table event. It's like a dinner. There's some dinner theater going on. It's outdoors. It's at a farm, and Paul and I will be playing music for that. That is Friday and Saturday. Let's see. Uh, Everything else is June. I'll be doing Evening at Elmwood. Once again, that's playing. Okay. Oh, September 20th, the gathering at the White House and Museum. So I'll be there. I'll have a table. I'll be signing books. That's all I have right now as far as me signing books. I have a couple people who um, want signed copies. I don't advertise that because that could get out of control very fast. But people who reach out to me and say I want a signed copy, there's a way of doing that. Basically, it's the same price as if you would have bought it from Amazon plus shipping and handling, because I have to take it to the post office and pay to have it shipped. And actually, what I charge for shipping and handling doesn't cover all of it, but I take a little bit of a bite in my profit to do that, because if someone wants to read a book, if someone wants a signed copy, I'm going to do everything I can to get that book into their hands. So I have about 4 of those that are going to go out. I have a box coming in April. But anyway, and if you're in Middle Tennessee, you buy a copy off of Amazon and you want me to sign it, just reach out to me and we can meet up somewhere and I'll sign it for you. So as far as writing, I'm giving myself until, once again, I always give myself about a month before I start writing this project. But I am plotting out. So I'm writing a novella. I don't know. It's going to be somewhere between a short story and a novella. I don't know how long it's going to be. But I have an idea for a story. It is going to be called The Underground Railroad Ball, and it's going to be a more of an immediate prequel to Rampage on the River. I mean, Mask of My Love is a prequel to Rampage on the River, but Mask of My Love ends about 12 years or so before or I don't know time-wise, but more than a decade before Rampage on the River starts, right? The Underground Railroad Ball is going to start just a few days before Rampage on the River starts. And it's going to be a story of Chester E. Newman, who in the beginning of Rampage on the River is a sheriff's deputy in Detroit. But in Rampage on the River, he is Carl's captain. And one of my favorite characters. He's in all 3 of the first. He's in the first 3 novels, and plays a significant part in all of them. And even though I took his name literally from, he was the actual captain of H Company of the 2nd Michigan Cavalry, the man that I created is a fictional character, just borrowing his name and his position. But everything I've written about him has nothing to do other than having the same name and being the actual company commander for Company H in the 2nd Michigan Cavalry. But that is the only. And the author of 100 Battles in the West, who was a staff officer in the 2nd Michigan, wrote an actual account of the war and the 2nd Michigan that I used to help write my novels. Mentions him in one sentence, and he said that he had a stunning hat or something like that. So going on stunning hat, I imagine a man with a lot of bravado and panache. And so I wrote him that way and really liked the character. And if you read the first 3 books, I hope you enjoyed them too. So this is going to be it's going to do a little bit with as you can imagine, the Underground Railroad, which is basically the system in which runaway slaves are smuggled through the North and into Canada, all during the time of the Fugitive Slave Act, which was a law passed by Congress that compelled northern states into returning runaway slaves. So, um, so all that is going to kind of come to play in this novella starring Chester Newman. So we'll start doing that, and then this short, anywhere between a short story to novella, probably a novella, um, will be free and exclusive to my email list. So if you want this, sign up for my email list below. It's in the description. And once you become a member, I will. You'll get emails about when things are on special, or when I have something on pre-order, or when something is released. And then outside of that, you will get a free copy of this. I'm also going to compile a glossary. I'm making the glossaries more specific to the book because they're getting longer and longer as I add things to them. So I decided to make a universal glossary as well, and I'm actually gonna use that as a system to test how I deliver an ebook to my followers on my email followers, and so that will come out soon, and then the novella will come out. I'm hoping about 6 months after having it written, edited, packaged, and then distributed in 6 months. That's my goal. And then I'll take a month off again, and then I'll start writing Black James. Black James is going to be a big endeavor. That's the one where I'm not sure if it's gonna. Well, actually, I think I've kind of decided. I haven't. A decision hasn't been made until I put it out. But initially, I was going to make it book 7 of the series, but I don't think that's fair to do to the readers, and it might hurt the series, and it might hurt the book itself, because Black James is a character novel. All my novels have been plot driven. This is a character driven novel. So it's the story of James, who you met in Mexico, My Love, and you heard about in the first 3 books. He is Liza and Elijah's father. He's the pirate that you meet in Mexico, My Love. And this is going to be a story that starts with either his father or his grandfather in Africa. And it's going to be kind of an epic adventure in which the father is taken from Africa as a boy, put into slavery, escapes, becomes a Royal Marine, fights in the War of 1812 on behalf of the British. After the war is, and this is true, all the runaways that joined the Royal Marines were given the option after the War of 1812 that they could move to Canada or move to Jamaica. And so this guy moves to Jamaica, becomes a successful business owner, working the docks in a kind of shipping receiving company on the docks of I think Kingston, Jamaica. And James grows up a young boy, helping his dad out, reading novels about pirates and daydreaming about it, becoming a cabin boy in the Royal Navy, and having this big adventure that eventually is going to turn him into the pirate that you see in Mexico, My Love. It's going to be, I'll tell you, when I started writing Rampage on the River, I was really nervous because I knew a lot about the American Civil War, but certainly not enough that I needed to know. So there was a lot of research and study for that. And as I wrote that novel and started Perils of Perryville, I started becoming a lot more comfortable with the depth of knowledge that I had gained about the American Civil War. So by the time I started writing Blood for Blood, I had a lot of foundational understanding. So there's a lot of things I didn't have to look up anymore because I knew it very well. and I can be very specific with what I was with my research as I wrote that book, because I had been writing the Americans of War for so long. Well, then when I started Mexico My Love, I was starting from zero again. And of course, once again, I had some foundational understanding, not only the Mexican War, but of Europe around, particularly like southern France and Spain around the time of the 1840s, 1846, I think. The book starts in 1838, but then it jumps up to in the beginning, but then it goes to and kind of the prelude kind of part of it, and then it jumps up to 1846 where the story really starts properly. And well, I mean, the bit in 1838 is also very important to it. Um, but I had to understand what Spain was like and what France was like at that time. So I had to do a lot of research and then a lot of research about the Mexican American War. Of course, by the end of writing it, I was very comfortable with it. And then once again, off into the deep end, because I was writing about the Austro-Prussian War and about Germany and Europe in 1866, and I had to go back to like 1848 to really understand, and before that to really have a fundamental, and I had a fundamental understanding about all that, but I had to dig deep. By the time I finished writing The Prussian Prince, I was very confident about my understanding of the Prussians, about Prussian military, about and how it worked, and a lot of the preliminaries about the politics with France and the um, and the Franco-Prussian War. So when I started writing the French Fiasco, I had a head start because I understood a lot of this stuff, especially on the Prussian side. So then I had to just kind of really understand the French military and a lot of these battles, like the ones I mentioned that are in the book, like Saarbrücken, Schwisperen, some of the other battles that happened in between the Battle of Sedan and the uprisings, the communist uprisings, and the civil unrest in Marseille as well. All that was I had to learn and study so that I could write this book. But I felt confident in it, and having been through that, I know a lot more about it. Well, now I'm gonna have to kind of start from scratch again because there's a lot I have to learn about, especially about piracy and sailing. I used to sail, so I do have some fundamental understanding of sailing, but not on a big level of like a 19th century steamships, actually, because that's the other thing is that it's a pirate book, but it's not the golden age of piracy. Golden age piracy, I think, is about 1650 to 1720. I don't know the actual days, but most of the depictions of pirates that you have seen, most of the famous pirates like Blackbeard, lived or took place in this era, 1650 to 1720. There's always piracy. There's piracy today. They're on speedboats, attacking shipping in the Straits of Hormuz, even to this day. But your classical sense of what a pirate is from the golden age of piracy. My story is going to take place in I think probably the 1830s to the 40s, and so it's after the golden age of piracy, but there's still lingering. And that's one of the things. It's kind of a theme in my books as well. Is that kind of like a nostalgia for an age gone by. So the age that my characters are living in is an age gone by for us, and so there's kind of a romanticism of it, and I try to feed into that nostalgia for it. But then my characters themselves, I've always been obsessed with like swords and sword fighting, and I'm certainly writing it in an age where that is dying out, especially where I am now, like in the 1870s, and the overall, like swords are mostly ceremonial, but there's still a little bit left. I mean, there were still practical swords with rubberized grips being issued in World War One to the U.S. Soldiers, but I don't think there was barely any use for them. Uh, there might have been some in the trenches, but even then, in the trenches, you can't swing a saber. You can stab with it, but you're probably better off with a shotgun and a trench knife. I mean, even your bayonets are kind of too long once you get into the trench. You know what I'm saying? Um, so the characters in the time I'm writing them also have this nostalgia for the age gone by. So I'm writing in an era in which the age of swordsmanship is in its twilight and nearly dead, but my characters are remnants of it. Um, yeah, in that kind of bittersweet nostalgia for the age of chivalry and the age of honor and things like that. So I like to write to that. So Black James will be a character who is post Golden Age of piracy, but is still clinging to those legends and trying to be that legend himself. So that is going to be fun. But several things. It's going to be um, a character novel as opposed to a plot novel. I mean, there's a plot to it, but it's more about the life of a character. And then the other thing is that it's going to be a nautical pirate book. So there's a lot of I'm reading. I have a bunch of books lined up in my queue for novels to read about just naval warfare, and I've already read some, and I like that stuff, but it'll be a departure from what I have been writing. I've been writing about land wars. This is more about nautical stuff, naval action. So it'll be a fun project. And then after that, we'll see. In a lot of ways, The Prussian Prince is a capstone to my series. But I have 4 more books in that series that are planned. And once I get done with Black James, I'm probably going to write those unless something comes along. Unless something bad happens, like I die or I'm incapacitated, or if after Black James I decide it's more lucrative or it's a better idea to do something else or go a different direction, or an opportunity comes to me that I say, like let's say someone comes and say, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of money, but we want you to write more Civil War. So okay, I might do that. But failing all that, once the Black James comes out, there'll be 4 more novels in this series. The last one being a World War One novel, and then after that, there's a lot of different things I can do. There is a interbellum novel between World War One and World War Two that I would like to that I'm kind of developing in my head. That may be the next a novel, but it won't be part of the series. I have ideas to write a Napoleonic, at least a novel, if not a series. I have ideas about. I have an idea for the American Revolution. I have an idea for the Haitian Revolution, and then I have an idea about more of that swashbuckling era, like going all the way back to like maybe even the 1400s, and writing some books there. All right, so Lloyd says, I still want to see that detective from Detroit story one day. Yeah, that's another one too. I have an idea of doing kind of a crime novel, a gritty crime novel that takes place in the 1970s in Detroit, and that would be a fun project too. Who knows? We'll see. All I can think of is what's coming next. That's that novella, and most likely Black James. And all this is contingent on my capacity. Like I don't die or something. And also, like I said, if if an opportunity comes my way that I just can't refuse, well, maybe I'll do that instead. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna let's see. Yeah, we just been over a little bit over an hour. Thanks for joining me. If you once again, the French Fiasco is out. Is it my best novel yet? In a lot of ways, yeah. Uh, Especially because I feel like all my novels are good. I'm proud of them all. I really love the story of Mexico, My Love, and so that's probably my favorite story. But this novel is kind of a continuation of that. So it might be now my new favorite story. I also feel like my prose gets a little better every time. So I'm a better writer each time. I mean, I'm still very proud and highly recommend my first book, Rampage on the River. But I feel like I've grown, and I feel like this latest book is an example of it. It's longer than the Prussian Prince. It's Prussian Prince was 76,000 words. The French Fiasco is 109,000. Um, and it's a good story, and I think it'll surprise you. There's a lot of twists in it, and I think the end is very satisfying, not just for this book, but like I said, it's a good capstone for all 6 books, and but there's more for me to write, and I didn't leave it open. It definitely comes to a resting spot, but I'm hoping to pick up Carl's story after Black James. We'll see. In the meantime, keep reading, keep writing. If there's an author out there or there are authors out there that you really like, um, uh, be sure that when you read their novels, to give them hopefully 5-star ratings, uh, or whatever you think is fair, and that helps a lot. You can do that on Amazon most importantly, but you can also do it on Goodreads, and there's some other places you can do it to. I mean, it's really easy to do Amazon and Goodreads, both. Just go to one and the other and get done with it. And then also the next level of that is if you can write a few nice words, like I really liked it. I mean, I try to write a little bit longer because I'm an author and I try to be, and I write, I write nothing but positive reviews. If I don't like the book, then I just don't write a review. Um, what's coming next as far as the live stream, as I'm reading, Griff Husker is a person who very early on, he was in my also reads. So like people who have read my novel have read his, or his novels are suggested a lot to me because of the genre that I read and write in. And I've heard him on Rock Paper Swords podcast, and just the nicest guy, prolific writer. He's got like I'm not kidding, like over like 180 novels, and he's putting out multiple a year. I don't know how he does it. I'm reading one. One of it is the rather short, but not too short, but like maybe like 230 pages. I don't know how many words, maybe about 50, or maybe 50, 60,000 words. But they're nice, tight adventure novels that just, man, and he writes everything from like, I know World War II. He does everything from like World War II to like, I know at least the Romans. He might do after World War II. He might do something before the Romans, but definitely Romans to World War II. Griff Husker's got a book on it, and they're tight little adventures. They're well written. They're authentic. They take you there. They put you in that era, in that conflict, and I'm really enjoying the heck out of it. So that'll be my next review. I'm almost done. I might be reviewing it as early as this weekend or maybe early next week. And then I'm going to read a book by Harry Sidebottom. Harry and Griff are both friends of mine on Facebook. And Harry's a big one, another very big, well-known, legendary author from England. And he interacts with me on Facebook, and it stuns me every time. Very nice guy, very supportive. And I put him on my list. Like I got to read one of his books, and thankfully, I'm kind of, um, you know, watching my finances right now. So I'm reading stuff from the library, and he had a couple books from the library. Both of them were Roman. So I'm going to read one and give him a, 5-star review, and then move on to the next. I have like a whole list of books. I'll interrupt my queue if there's a situation that arises. Like my friend Lloyd asked me to read his book. I said, sure. I went to that next. My friend Matthew Harpy sent me a advanced reader copy of one of his latest releases. Um, before it came out, and I read that. It gave him a 5-star review. But other than that, I'm marching through, and there's a lot of nautical books coming up to help. I don't use the novels to research. I just use the novels to just kind of get used to the language and the world and the texture, and then use um, the nonfiction stuff to do the research. And actually, yesterday I got a couple books about historic. I was surprised from Nashville Public Library. I got historical books about Detroit, including during the Civil War, which I'm going to be researching over this month. But anyway, that's it. I love you guys. Keep reading, and I'm going to keep reading myself because I think that's a very important part of being an author, and I'm certainly going to keep writing. And I hope you enjoyed the French Fiasco. That's it for me, and I'll see you on the next one.